Okay, welcome back to another episode of the Brand Builder Show. And if you're interested in using AI to fuel your business, keep it growing faster than ever before, then this is the episode for you. That is the topic of our conversation. And to talk through that, we have brought back a very popular guest from the show, Chelsea Cohen from So Stocked. Chelsea, welcome back to the show.
Yeah, thanks for having me back on.
No, my pleasure. I think you were episode number 3 or something, like really early on when we launched the show 18 months or so ago. This is going to be about episode 80. So, we made it this far to be able to have you back on, which is really cool for us. But also, there's been some exciting things going on in your world. So for anybody that hasn't heard anything about you, give us a bit of a background on who you are, but also, what's happened in the last year and what you're up to now.
Sure. Yeah. So started selling on Amazon 2014 and, really have kind of come a long way in my journey there, learning, obviously, we have our businesses and we learn different things. And then oftentimes we like to share those things. So I can give a very, very brief what about SoStock, but then also I wanted to, since we are talking about AI and talking about copywriting, there's a piece of my journey that I don't often talk about, specifically pertaining to copywriting. 2018, I built a software company called SoStocked Inventory Management. We ended up selling to a company called Carbon 6, which some people have started hearing about. And so currently, my biggest focus is on inventory management, profitability through operations. But I have a sweet spot in my heart and a passion for the copywriting side of Amazon as well. And that's where I really started in terms of sharing things I know with other sellers. Started speaking in 2017 on stages, podcasts about copywriting and really about how to write for Amazon. Because a lot of people really don't know how to write for Amazon and don't know that they don't know how to write for Amazon. So that's what I love speaking about is, Amazon is a comparative buying platform. And so that needs to be taken into account. And, one of the things that I'd love to bring to light as part of this AI conversation.
Yeah, absolutely. And it is a big conversation that is continuing to move forward. There was obviously a big spike in discussions around it when GPT-4 came out. I imagine the same if they sort of bring out the next iteration of it, but it's already very, very powerful. And I think every Amazon seller would be aware that they need to write a listing that converts, but maybe don't know how to. And so is this whole AI thing an opportunity to bridge that gap between knowing how to do something and doing it, or do you need to know what you're doing to use AI?
Yeah, I think it can be a slippery slope. I think that we need to know how to use AI because, one thing is for sure, you can't ignore it. The people who ignore it are going to get steamrollered by the people who find ways to leverage it.
Absolutely.
However, at the same time, if a person goes too far into AI without understanding its weaknesses, you can lean too heavily into technology and take the human element out, and then you'll just kind of be in a wash of sounding like everyone else. Yeah,
definitely. Let's talk about some of the potential hacks that you can use for AI and maybe some of the pitfalls as well, then, to sort of balance it out, because I know from using ChatGPT myself, there's days where I feel like, oh my gosh, this is going to revolutionize my workflow, and then there's days I want to just like smash my head against the screen because it's not doing what I want, right? Like, is that a normal frustration? Are you finding other people are finding that? How do you summarize that?
Yeah, definitely. I think some of the benefits of AI are the ability to take a lot of data and condense it, the ability to fight out of blank page syndrome, especially if you're not a natural writer. How do I start, or how can I have an outline? It's always great to start with an outline and then edit from there. Brainstorming ideas, social media posts, email campaigns. You can say, hey, give me a four email sequence for someone who just signed up for my email list or something like that. So there's a lot of benefits to that. The other one that is really great is using Bard, because there's a lot of focus on ChatGPT, but ChatGPT doesn't scan the internet. It has the limitation of being only as old as, or has data only as old as September 2021. So there's a huge gap, in its knowledge base. So Bard comes in, and that's something that you can use to do things like taking your competitor's listing and plug it in and saying, give me a summary of all of the reviews. What does it do well? What does it not do well? And why would I want to buy this product? Or comparing your listing to another's listing, say, tell me what's the difference between these two products. Why would you buy one versus the other?
Yeah, definitely. I think the example you gave about the email sequence is spot on as well. I actually, funnily enough, a couple of days ago used it to create like a 3 email sequence for a product launch that we're doing for a pet product. And one of the lines that it came, like sometimes it can be so creative. Like I gave it quite a detailed prompt. I told it that you're an expert copywriter and talked about all of the different things we wanted in it. So it took me a good 5 to 10 minutes to create the prompt, but then it literally output the 3 emails, and it included lines like, hurry, this offer is going faster than a kitten chases a laser. Just stuff like that. I just thought it's so much more creative than I sometimes give it credit for. So I think that there's lots more ways of using it maybe than we are doing so far.
Yeah, exactly. So there's things like that, that can really help to cut down a lot of those times, and also save money on, paying someone else to do certain things. And then there are other things that, you just shouldn't give that completely over to AI.
Yeah. On that note, are there ways that using AI can weaken your competitive edge?
Yeah. So by definition, AI is derivative, right? It looks at other sources and it uses those sources to come up with something new. So you can start sounding like everyone else. And a lot of the space already does. There's specific format that everyone uses on Amazon, which is interesting because I've talked, since 2017, I've talked against this format, but it's the format of doing a subheading, right? Let's say strong material or something like that, and then you go into the bullet point. And there's this formula of, we're going to do, all caps, tell you what the bullet point's about, and then do a semicolon or a dash, and then we're going to write about it. And so listings already have a standard template that is actually not the most effective way to write your listings. And we can talk about some of the things that we use, the techniques that are used, but we've already got where we sound like everyone else. So the thing that's coming now is that we used to have a competitive edge, say, on foreign language sellers. Now foreign language sellers can start sounding like us. So that is a differentiator. If you sound good, and so does everyone else, well, then now we have to start sounding great. Just like our images, just like our EBC. Why does someone click on yours versus someone else's? It's because your image looks better, right? So why don't we look at that in terms of, we have to make our bullet points look better? Yeah.
You mentioned that structure. It would be good to hear that, because that's a structure that a lot of people would know and use. And what are the downfalls of that structure?
Yeah. So a lot of, I remember at an event in, I think it was 2018. Someone got up on stage in front of 3,000 people and said, people don't read bullet points. And he was going to talk about images. So 3,000 people write down, people don't read bullet points. And then you have a whole bunch of sellers who are not looking at copywriting as a tool. And at the same event, I have people coming up to me saying, I loved your talk, or I, used your service, and I increased my sales by 10%, by 15%, whatever it is, and you have this ripple effect as you start to convert, your traffic increases and your ranking increases. And so it can really have a huge impact. But if we only look at it as a place to put our keywords and to give kind of generic features and not really sell in a way that is compelling, then we're switching good for good. And that's not good enough. So, of course, I'm going to say people don't read bullet points because I've never written a bullet point that someone wanted to read.
Right, yeah. Do you find then that using AI to write those bullet points, to write your descriptions, that can diminish the sales potential of that copy unless you really heavily edit it?
Yeah, it's, you can get, like I said, the foundation, but some of the techniques that we use are things that help to combat that, because there is a truth, and people don't like to read things. Blogs, I'm guilty of myself. I open up a blog, says, the top 10 things that you need to know about whatever. And so what do? We go and we skim for what those 10 things are. We don't read through the whole thing. We just look at, the bolded sections. Oh, this is important and that's important. So how do we take that natural tendency of a consumer on the internet and give them the ability to skim something? Right now, we do subheadings, and that basically says, this is all that this bullet point is about. And since you can read the subheading and know exactly what I'm going to talk about, and you're basically taking that tool away. You're saying you don't have to read this. So of course they're not going to read it. They're just going to read the subheading and move on. But what we tend to do is, first and foremost, we have to get them to understand that we're going to tell them something that's going to matter. I mentioned comparative buying platform. People already want to buy the product. So your job is why yours versus your competitors, right?
On the topic of structure, bullet point structure, without wanting to get too much off topic, are you would you then go for brevity, short, readable, rather than long, keyword filled, trying to fit as much information in there as possible? Right.
So not too short, because it's so short, all you leave room for is the logic, the features. You don't give them what, the emotion. People buy on, emotion, justify with logic. So what is that product going to do for them? What are they going to feel like when they read that, that listing and when they get that product? So we tend to like to keep them, not going to the 500 character per bullet, but around 400 is kind of our goal. We want to make sure that we have long tail keywords in there, but the way that we guide the eye is we don't create subheadings, right? We'll use all caps at the beginning, but we'll stop it, say, in the middle of a sentence. And the first few words of the first bullet point are the most important piece of your copywriting. It's what there's a term called hook. In a story, it hooks you, makes you want to read more. So we always take the negative reviews of our competitor and we say things like, we used to say things like, unlike other products that bend, break, and rust, and of course a keyword in there, ours does not, because we have this type of material. Now you're not allowed to compare your products to others, so we've had to get creative, say, you want to avoid this situation, or you want to avoid products or stay away from products that this. We don't necessarily full on. There's ways to change the language without making the Amazon algorithm mad. But that's the hook, and you will take the all caps and you'll carry it through into a sentence that kind of guides the eye into reading the sentence, and then we'll take specific portions, specific features that we want to have stand out. Let's say, the material, if someone is selling plastic and you're selling silicone, you might want to point out, we're not using plastic, we're using silicone, and that might be in all caps. So throughout the bullet points, we'll have all caps for specific features and benefits that we want to have stand out, so that if someone just read the all caps, they would get an idea of the value that you're bringing.
Yeah, you mentioned hooks there. Is that something that you are feeding in? Like I've tested with some, like copywriting frameworks, like problem, agitation, solution, that kind of thing. Are those things that you're testing, feeding into ChatGPT with any success?
So, to some degree, you always have to, ChatGPT, you're always surprised by what you get. It's sometimes it can get it and sometimes it can't. We found that oftentimes it's easier. You can feed in, a good process would probably be to use Bard, for example, and get let's say the top 3 complaints, or say top 5 complaints, or whatever, and that gives you the kind of the tools to work with. And you say, okay, well, here's the top complaints about this. How can I use this to my advantage? And you might be able to ask, ChatGPT, how would you write a bullet point to evoke this, to compare my product to this product? And you're always going to have to tweak, I think, what is being put there. And so you've always got to have that human element, but you can get part of the way there.
Yeah. You mentioned like processing data and stuff early on. Is that the kind of thing you mean? Processing reviews, that kind of thing? Yeah.
You can have Bard look at reviews and do a breakdown of reviews. They'll even put, the percentages of reviews. What are the things that people liked? This would even be really good for product research. Take the top, 5, 10 competitors that are doing well and get them to break down, each listing, and then maybe combine that data to find areas of weakness where you can then source a product that addresses that. It's really fast research that way.
Yeah. You mentioned Bard quite a lot. Are you using it more than ChatGPT?
For listing analysis, because Bard can actually read the listing. You don't have to take the listing and copy it. You can copy the link to Amazon.
You can go into the page and read it.
Yeah, and so you can do that with reviews. You can also do that with listing. Break down the listing. Break down the brand voice. What is this brand voice? Some tips there.
Because they just removed that recently, right? With there was a browsing feature on GPT-4, but I think they removed it.
Yeah, recently, and so Bard has been pretty good at that.
Yeah, cool. Brand voice, you mentioned there. That's something that's key to a lot of people that are building brands on Amazon and want to maintain that brand voice. How do you do that with AI?
Sure. So if you've got a rough idea of who your audience is, you can plug in and say, hey, I've got, I sell these types of products. You want to add some adjectives to kind of give an idea. Are your products, fun? Are they, party oriented? Are they sophisticated, luxurious? Give a couple of descriptors and then give a little bit about who you think that your product is for. And then say, develop an avatar around my product. It can spit out an avatar. You can even ask, what media sources do they consume, and they can give you some ideas of that. And then, of course, from there, you can ask it to build, a brand voice, marketing personality of your brand. And then even ask if you find specific companies that you really like. Let's say you're in the food niche and you say, okay, I really like Bon Appetit magazine. Or I really admire, Apple and what Apple stands for. You can get them to break down, especially if it is an iconic brand. Why does that brand work? What is this brand all about? And then you can go through and it'll spit out the data so that you can then take that and say, incorporate some of this into what I'm doing and what my brand represents.
Yeah, that's a really good idea, actually, using real prominent brands that you aspire to, and getting the insight from the AI there. Very good tip there. You talking a lot about add in these words, add in those emotions, adding those modifiers. That's a lot of information, each time you do a new prompt. Do you have some kind of system whereby you're collating all this stuff somewhere?
Yeah, so you should have, and one of the things that we put together is some kind of shorthand prompts. AI will remember things, so you can, to a certain extent, layer on in the same chat. So, my customer avatar, based on this avatar, give me brand voice. Based on that brand voice, give me 10 ideas for social posts. And so you can kind of layer that. At a certain point, AI starts to get confused and forget. So sometimes you'll have to then carry some of that over and start a new chat. But if you can take your brand voice that is created, save it, look through it, see if you want to streamline it, and then use that when you're always going in and plugging in, what emails should I be putting out? Even customer success email or customer success, customer service emails. You want it to sound like your brand voice. So you can even create templates for customer success.
Yeah, that's really good. Really good. You've mentioned obviously listings, emails, social posts. Are there any sort of Amazon specific or more Amazon centric ways you can use ChatGPT or Bard or any AI to really improve and speed up your workflow?
In terms of, on the listings itself, you mean?
Just any other ways that AI can support your Amazon business or your e-commerce business?
Yeah, so one of the ways we also have found success, and always comes with a caveat, especially when you're looking at trying to generate fact-based or math-based. Math usually serves some other purpose, which there's some dangers there, but things like research. Like if you're trying to find, we do a lot of, I have an agency for copywriting. We do a lot of different listings. So we'll get a supplement product, for example, and we want to know about these ingredients. So that generally can take a long time or added time to research. You can go in and research and say, hey, what are the benefits of, this type of ingredient? Or maybe you don't have an ingredient that a competitor has, and you can say, what are the downsides? Oh, it hurts, your stomach. So you can put up, we don't have this ingredient because it hurts your stomach. So that gives the idea for the reader, the potential customer, maybe I should watch out for that ingredient. And then you're in a roundabout way dissuading them from any of the competitor products that use that ingredient. And it's because you're able to get, you always want to verify, because sometimes AI will start making things up. We've found occasionally. So it's a good idea to, after they give you, those things, to try to search in Google to find some other, sources for that.
Yeah. In terms of keywords specifically in the listing, Amazon SEO, what are the challenges with that? We've talked about sales copy and stuff that converts, but the keyword side of it obviously is very important. Are there, how do you find AI is working with, finding the right keywords, doing the right SEO stuff?
Yeah, that one, AI is not that great at understanding what you're trying to ask it, especially when it comes to long tail keywords. We've done, some tests where you've asked, hey, take these bullet points and put some keywords in, and it'll spit, we've had it spit out, a rewrite of the bullet points and then say, here's some keywords, and it just gives you a list of keywords at the end that it didn't incorporate. Or it will repeat the same main keyword over and over again. We've had it put it at the end of each bullet in, parentheses, not doing, so it has a lot of trouble with finding places to work those in, and especially in an organic way. I think that, and we've even seen trouble, other people, actual people have trouble with, how do I take this keyword? I mean, we've had to train our writers on how do you do that. So, I would review and say, hey, you can make this more organic if you say it in a little bit of a different way, because long tail keywords generally make the copywriting sound like it's trying to stuff keywords, and buyers are more and more getting to be smarter. So anything that makes them feel like they're being sold, you want to shy away from. You want to have them organically read through the listing without realizing that, hey, I'm trying to get your money.
Yeah. And slightly moving away from AI, and without wanting to ask too much of a general question, but obviously you're in the weeds with this stuff all the time, writing good copy that converts. What would be your kind of overall strategies and tactics that you would share, if you needed to give someone the 80-20 on, writing copy that drives traffic, converts, what would be some of the kind of key tips that you'd finish up with?
Sure. So I would say, as we talked about the hook, taking, negative reviews and using them against your competitors in a way that doesn't make the Amazon algorithm, mad. Also, removing subheadings from your listings and using the all caps to guide them into reading the rest of the bullet point, using all caps. And, as a caveat, Amazon doesn't like all caps. They don't want it, but we haven't found, probably a year and a half, 2 years ago, some people did get a warning email, but we haven't had people get shut down for using all caps. And we found it converts a lot better. So we'll give the choice. We'll give, here's the all caps version, here's the standard version, and the seller can make the decision.
Yep.
But it is very effective to have your best features and your best benefits in all caps, and don't go too heavy on it, because then it just looks like a block of text. You want it to read comfortably, but to upon skim, selling the point.
Yeah.
Those would be the hook, the removal of subheadings, and then the all caps used to focus on the features and the benefits are the kind of the top things.
How much of your workflow is integrating with the images? Are you just writing the copy, or are you kind of then using that to frame the images? How does that process work for you?
Yeah, so that's what we recommend. We don't do photography. We do EBC, a bit of EBC as well. And the work that is done with the reviews and with figuring out how to frame and sell on emotion, and to, sometimes you have a gifting bullet point. We always end with a brand bullet point at the end to give people an idea that this is an actual company, especially if you can say small business, I'm a mom who's trying to solve my own problems, or whatever it is, and taking those bullet points and relaying them as the same story. You've done all this work to find the best ways to present your product, and you need to, as much as possible, repeat that message to people, no matter how they consume content, whether they read bullet points or simply look at images. It should be very cohesive and say the same thing.
Yeah, definitely. Good. Okay. And then just to finish up, in terms of the future of AI, obviously you don't have a crystal ball, and you can't predict all of the future.
Yeah.
Well, where do you see this going? Are we just going to have just a smooth, steady growth of AI, usage, or are we going to see some more massive spikes? What kind of do you feel for the industry?
Yeah, I think that it will, there'll be ebbs and flows. I think that it is only going to improve. I think that there is a danger in some people, like I said, going too far with it, and that there's people who are going to become AI innovative, and then there are people who become AI lazy, and so that's kind of the risk there. But I think that if you don't learn about it and you don't figure out ways to and maybe the creative side of it, there are certain things you don't want to let go of, right? The things that really truly matter: your images, your copywriting, your messaging, product selection. It can help you to shortcut some of those things, but if you give it wholly over to AI, that's where someone who's using it in intelligent ways and maintaining hold on those important creative and messaging and brand driven aspects, you're going to be overtaken. Yeah, that hybrid approach, I think, is so key, isn't it? And it's going to be what creates the best content, because it helps you to create more, but it also helps you to create it in a conversion sort of focused way. So I completely agree with that. Yeah. Good stuff. Well, this has been super helpful, Chelsea, in terms of, I think, a lot of us getting our heads around AI for the first time and how it can really help us in our business. So thank you so much for sharing your thoughts on it. I think you've got a bit of a giveaway for our listeners, something they can pick up to help them with this whole process. Where can they find that? Sure. So that's catapultconversions.com/AI prompts. So we've put together some AI prompts for different aspects of your business, and you can get it there. You can also find us on catapultconversions.com. We do a free listing analysis for anyone who's interested in that as well. Amazing. Well, we'll leave the link to that, obviously, in the show notes and the description, so people can grab a hold of that. Thank you again, Chelsea, for coming on. We really do appreciate your time. Yeah, thanks.
Awesome, folks. Well, I hope you got as much out of that episode as I did. It's given me loads of ideas to test and have a play with the different AI. Definitely need to get into Bard and test that out as well. So get into it, have a little play with it. It's ChatGPT, Bard, they're free to begin with, so you can have a play, use them in your business, and keep growing quicker than ever. We'll see you in the next episode, same time next week. Take care.